Well, Travis, there you are.
And here I am. Welcome to wherever you are.
I am in Los Angeles, the center of the known universe. All things revolve around Los Angeles.
In 4 years, that'll be true. The Olympics are coming.
Yeah.
The Olympics are coming.
When they were here in 84, I went to 14 events.
You told me.
Just so I could brag to my friend Travis that I did it.
The man loves to flex.
It was great. It was fun. It was 2 weeks of a lot of really coolness here.
So I take it you're going to announce to us that you're going to be voting for Kamala Harris?
No. But that's going to lead us into our subject today, Travis. You and I don't usually do politics, and I don't like.
We've done a lot of it the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, we have, but it's like, what do you say that hasn't been said or that is biased? Or so here's a question for you, and this will kick us off. And I really want to talk about this as just as dispassionately as possible.
Sure.
If we keep hearing in the mostly conservative stories about how Kamala and the left are really Marxists in disguise, and they would promote a Marxist ideology. And what does that mean? First, tell us what Marxism was when Marx wrote about it, and how it's been tried in history, and if Kamala won the White House and the Senate and the House of Representatives, where would things start to go towards?
Marxism just is the idea that the state controls all the means of production. The slogan for Marxism is how does it go? To each according to his needs, and from each according to his ability. Reverse that: from each according to his ability, to each according to his needs. So everyone will work hard to make sure that the future of the state will last, and in return, we give you what you need.
How is that different from communism?
Well, it is communism. Communism just is Marxism and vice versa. So Marx wrote the Communist Manifesto, and that phrase, that slogan that he co-authored with Friedrich Engels is in there. From each according to his ability, to each according to his needs. Communism is not old, is not new. Rather, I wouldn't see Marx as the father of communism. As a matter of principle, I think he's the father of modern, I guess you'd call statist communism. But the older term for it was collectivism, where you would have communities that would just feed you no matter what, and they didn't have what you might call the right to private property. And the Belgic Confession, which is a Reformed confession, speaks out against collectivism. So if you call yourself a Reformed Christian, one of the principles that you take on is an anti-collectivist or communistic stance. And you can boil Reformed Christianity's stance on economics. Obviously, there are great differences, but in between Reformed Christians, but the stance economically is basically, if a man doesn't work, he doesn't eat. That's a principle,
right?
Not an absolute, because we recognize that there are widows and children who need sustenance, and we give to them. But as a matter of principle, if you don't work, you don't eat. And second of all, everyone has the right to private property. And if you believe those two things, you just cannot be a communist. So
where would we, if Kamala got her way, where would we head towards? Where would we go? What would it? Does she really want to abolish private property?
It's the thing about Kamala Harris to me is I just don't think she's thought these things through. I mean, I just don't think that she has a well-developed worldview such that she has a full agenda to do X, Y, or Z. That is as much of a critique of her as it is a kind of sigh of relief. It's a critique of her because I think that everybody who runs for high office should have a well-developed worldview, and they kind of have a picture of the world in terms of what they think it should be, and um, they may not. I don't think any politician should try to make the world in their own image, but to the degree they think that they can implement positive change for the good, I think that that's a good thing. But I don't think Kamala Harris has a well-developed worldview. I mean, I just don't think that she's an intellectual. Now, I do think that she has very extreme left-wing leanings, and I think that if we were to sit down with her and say, well, what do you think about X, Y, or Z? I think we would hear a woman who doesn't truly believe that we should be a nation of borders. I don't think that she has any qualms about just giving healthcare benefits to literally anyone that's within our borders. So if you're an illegal alien, you come in, and I mean, she's gone on record to say some of these things. I mean,
right.
You're a legal alien, you come into our country, you get free healthcare. She does fully back the Green New Deal, and I think she backs an extreme version of this. She wants all fossil fuels over and done with, I think, by 2045.
All what?
All fossil fuels.
Oh, yeah.
And as we speak right now, nobody has an alternative fuel source that can replace coal and the basically standard fuel.
Right.
I mean, nobody has one. And I think that it's really easy for people to sit, and especially the limousine liberals who sit around and drink their lattes and they just they kind of have an elitist attitude, and they look down on the working classes. The reason you're able to sit and drink your latte and brag about how much you've read is because the lights that you're reading under were put in place by construction workers who work their cans off to make ends meet for their families. And all that comes from certain industries like the coal industry. The reason you're not freezing to death up in New York is because of the coal industry.
Right.
And it is very disturbing to think that so many of these individuals are trying to stop economic advancements in, say, third world countries. These people are cooking their food over dung. They're breathing in those toxins, and they're actually eating meat that's been cooked over dung, which is not healthy. I mean, I don't even know why I even need to say that, but I feel like I do. I mean, that's obvious. It's not healthy. And with electric power in any given village, that one thing would probably increase lifespans double fold, and children would probably grow up with far less diseases and health issues than they probably currently do. So I just, again, all of that is because certain people want to stop those advancements because they have a certain vision of global warming and what that entails. Nobody's going to deny that human beings contribute to global warming. The question is, what is the solution, and at what cost?
Right.
And again, I'm not talking about the profit motive. I'm talking about lives. I'm not talking about so that the CEO of any given coal industry can make a lot of money. I'm talking about that is those are companies that is an industry that actually saves us. The other interesting thing is one environmentally safe form of energy is nuclear energy. It's proven to
Yes.
be very safe, and yet that's the one thing they don't want to invest in. So I find a lot of this weird, strange. Like, I mean, you know this, the windmills that have been put up all over the West, they're crushing the birds. I mean,
Yeah.
so every solution that we have is not really a solution. As Thomas Sowell says, it's a trade-off. And that's really what we're dealing with, are trade-offs. And what trade-offs are we willing to live with?
Right. It seems like liberals don't want to talk about unintended consequences of things. They just, a lot of feel good stuff. You know what really scares me when you say this, though, is if Kamala were to become president and she doesn't have a real clear agenda, a clear, deep agenda in her mind, she's going to wind up getting driven by her advisors and just whatever's in the wind that comes along. And talk about unintended consequences. I mean, unintended consequences happen even when you think things through for years and very deeply. But to just put out a bunch
Absolutely.
of feel good stuff and really have no idea where that goes in a year or two or a generation or two, that's really frightening. And other people will effectively be the president, I think, if she were to win the presidency in name.
Right. Yeah. 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 I don't know what's scarier, Kamala with or without an agenda. We know it's not well thought out. I mean, that's a given. So what's scarier?
Yeah.
To be beholden to her handlers, which I think will be largely true, if not absolutely true, or for her to steer the ship. I mean, that both prospects are so bizarrely scary to me. And I also think that there are war hawks that are always there to push the president into war. And I think I fear that Kamala will drag us into some terrible war.
What is their motive for wanting to do that, Travis, in your opinion?
Well, there's a globalist initiative to, um, you know, there are globalist initiatives to enforce certain values on other countries. And I mean, she's clearly a globalist. She's not a nationalist. She's not an American first person. And so,
Yeah.
I mean, we're inching towards Ukraine. We're inching towards doing something in Israel. And I'm not sure what the end game is, because she has spoken. She seems to be speaking out of both sides of her mouth, and you can correct me. One of the, I guess, to stop myself almost mid sentence. One of the reasons why I'm so hesitant to say too much is because I don't really know this person.
Yeah. Yeah.
She doesn't. I think, is it Ben Shapiro? He said she's gone like almost 30 days now, and has not sat down and had a full interview where she's explained her policies. And so her speeches, every time I've seen her speak, it's a kind of feel good. I know people like Donald Trump, people who harass people. I know people like Donald Trump, people who harass women and are bullies and get indicted for things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here's an attorney general and attorney general of California who went after drug pushers, even though she herself smoked marijuana. So she's a hypocrite. Here's a person who campaigned for certain known criminals to be let out of jail. She's pushed at least a quasi defund the police agenda in certain places. I just this is a very confused individual we're talking about here, and I just don't think she knows what she's talking about. So
That's frightening.
yeah, I mean, I I don't think that we've ever faced a less competent person,
Yeah, I think
period,
that's true.
let alone one who can be president.
But I think so many
And so I'm
people,
not really sure. I'm not sure why, or is it an anti-Trump thing? I mean, it's like you hate Trump that bad that Kamala is the person. Is that
sure,
what we're
I
talking about here?
I think it is. I think it's a feel good kind of thing. Here's a woman, a black woman, an Asian woman. She's, you know, attractive in sort of a, you see her on screen and she speaks well, and it's easy to just get on this bandwagon and say, yeah, that's the wave of the future.
Does she
And
speak well?
maybe I haven't heard her enough to, I've just seen her in some of her ads.
I mean,
And
all I'm hearing is word salad.
yeah,
We're
well, I
going to
read
look at
some,
what can be and be unburdened by what has been, and that, some people have connected that to communism. I haven't seen any proof of that, but I mean, part of the Marxist agenda, the postmodern / neo-Marxist woke agenda, all of that stuff is a kind of anti-historical move. So, like when Mao, after the revolution, Mao totally stripped China of all tradition. So all Chinese tradition, like Confucianism and the things that kind of built
yeah,
Chinese culture for the last 3,000 years, was just done away in one fell swoop under Mao's China. And people suffer for it. They're still suffering for this. I mean, they can't walk across the street without being filmed. They have social credits that, if you don't
oh man,
abide by
that's,
the rules,
yeah,
you get docked, and then that affects your ability to purchase things. This is a terrible society to live under. And is that what unburdened by the past means? We're going to achieve full security for all Americans. The only way to achieve full security is to have extremely strict laws that deprive us of our rights.
that's right. Yeah. I
So,
heard I heard Jonathan Pageau say something the other day that made a lot of sense. He said this this sort of hyper surveillance that governments are doing now. He said that's what governments have wanted to do through history.
mm,
They just didn't have the means. You couldn't,
sure.
have enough soldiers to hang out in front of everybody's front door and, listen in on what they were what they were talking about. But now we actually have the technology that's
Yeah.
available easily to, keep watch on everyone. And most governments are going to succumb to the temptation to use that. And I think that makes a lot of sense. It's very depressing for what does that hell hold for the future, but
Yeah,
it does.
I know. I don't know what it holds for the ultimate future. I think if we keep going down this road, we are going to be in a communist China where every little thing I do is monitored, and if I don't play ball, that's when they start stepping in and affecting whatever. We have it already on a very soft level with certain social media. So getting the cancel culture just is a soft version of
Yeah,
what's going on in China. Um, so if I say something, say even in this podcast, that someone finds offensive, they will find my employer. They'll try to pressure my boss to fire me. But in the system that we have currently, your boss knows you. He's your next door neighbor on a lot of occasions. Um, he's just not going to fire you. He knows your father. He knows your family. He may even be friends with you.
right.
Um, and so in small towns like I'm living in, it's going to be maybe a while before that happens. But we're already seeing it. Like even when you apply for a job today, you don't just walk in anymore with your CV or your resume or whatever and just sit down and apply. You have to go through human resources. It's very impersonal.
Yeah,
And you have to wait for them to respond as to whether they're going to have you in. Um, that used to happen on big corporate level type things, but just the common practice of going in and wanting to work at IHOP, the restaurant or something. For some cities, that's just how it is. And so you're just like, well, you know, some the personal aspect of this is just gone, and we're facing more and more of this with AI. And I'm saying what a lot of people are saying. I don't know why Elon Musk is. What's he thinking? Hasn't he seen Terminator? I don't know what to do with it.
He's kind of all over the place. He doesn't really seems like somebody who doesn't have a view of where everything goes. I don't really understand, but let's stick to what we're
You know
doing
what's
here.
interesting about Kamala, though, and a lot of people haven't really raised this point. I think her background is Hindu, and
Yes,
so
yeah,
she gets elected. She would be the very first explicitly non-Christian president that we have.
I think one parent it was Hindu, and
Jefferson, at least.
one parent was Baptist, and of course her husband is Jewish. So
Yeah,
that's
so
an
she's got a
interesting
Jewish
mix.
husband. She herself has a Hindu background. I don't think that she claims to be a Christian. I think she claims to be a Hindu. So she
Hmm.
may be, I mean, Jefferson was not a Christian, and you and I both know there were plenty of presidents who were not Christian, but even Jefferson had to give some deference to a broad Christian worldview. And so Kamala, it's going to be interesting, kind of what strings she pulls in that. What rhetoric will she use from the bully pulpit there? Will she invoke Hindu deities? I'm not trying to sound like some sort of paranoid conspiracy theorist. A person should be allowed to run even if they don't hold to my religion. So I'm not saying that, but it is just an interesting fact to point out that she may be the first, not just explicitly non-Christian. We've had that before, as I said, but maybe somebody who even embraces a different religion altogether explicitly. She
Yeah,
may be the first there as well. So she may cover a lot of firsts, first woman of color, but also first individual who embraces a different religion than Christianity. And she it may not be Judaism. I mean, does she claim to be Jewish? I don't think she does.
no, I don't think so. I think her husband certainly.
President is, yeah.
Yeah.
So
So what do you say to people, Travis, who use that passage in Acts where it talks about how the apostles sold everything they had and shared it with each other as they had need? People say, well, isn't that communism?
it was voluntary.
Yeah, that's the difference. That's absolutely right.
No one's, when people say, well, we need to raise taxes because people need help, and I'm happy to pay more taxes, the response is, well, no one's stopping you from paying more taxes. Write the IRS and tell them that you're going to give them twice as much as they're requiring.
Yeah.
But why advocate a law where that's imposed on everybody?
The IRS does accept donations. That's really
Yeah.
true. You
Yeah.
can write a check to the IRS for the welfare of the United States as a private citizen. Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So do it. Go for it. And if a group of people want to get together and live in a kind of collectivist society, and it works for you, that's fine. And there is a way to make it work. And I think the early church was making that work, but on most occasions it doesn't work because human nature just is what it is. And
Yeah.
for every person that works in such a society, there are going to be 10 that don't do any work at all and benefit from the efforts of those who work. So that's part of the problem. We actually had a collective society in Virginia when Jamestown was founded, and they almost starved to death. They were eating shoestrings, literally.
Because of the policy or because of something else?
Well, it was the policy. They were not making everybody work, and so they called this the starving time. And the colony would have gone out had it not been for John Smith, who, about a year into Jamestown's founding, came in and implemented strict rules. And he implemented two. He gave an incentive to work, that is, you can own your own land. And two, he basically said, if you don't work, you don't eat. It's amazing how that cured things. You know?
Yeah.
Only those who contribute to the coffers get to reap the benefits of those coffers. So it really is common sense.
I think
And
that
the Puritans, by the way, the Puritans tried to do it too. When they founded Plymouth, they tried to implement the same thing. And I think it was Bradford who said, "We thought we knew more than God." He repented of it. This has been tried over and over and over again. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
The only reason it worked in the early church the way it did is because everybody was working. Everybody was contributing. Everybody was going full gung-ho for the sake of the kingdom. If you have a greater power that you're working for and a higher end to achieve, in this case, it's the spreading of the kingdom of God. And it was a necessary thing, especially at the first, when everything was touch and go, then it could possibly work. Because communism is a Christian heresy in the sense that they want to strip the ethic of giving of all of its Judeo-Christian value, and they want to relegate all worship to the state.
Right. It's really ironic, because if there was no such thing as original sin, and if we were following Christ with with love in the way that the Bible talks about, that would be the natural result of how we dealt with each other. We would be looking out for our neighbor. We would be seeking the welfare of others more than the welfare of ourselves, knowing that others would be doing that for us.
Sure.
And I think capitalism has, in many ways, is the best way that we know that works, but it has so many flaws and so many downsides that it's really easy to take pot shots at it and say it sucks. We need to try something else. But every time we try something else, we realize, it's the best of a lot of really bad options. And
but we also need to remind ourselves that capitalism in the past 50, 60 years has cut poverty in half.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Whenever you implement, and I'm talking about true capitalism, the free market, there is a difference between corporatism and capitalism. Corporatism is when our Congress, for example, allows corporations to lobby them to pass laws in their favor to eliminate their competition. This is why regulations don't work. If you want to have a regulation that truly works, you go after the percentage of your gross.
Right.
A $1 billion company is going to handle $1 million fine just fine.
Yeah, that's true.
So you say, and they'll actually take the hit because it costs less money to say litter the river than to have a crew that you employ to clean it up. And they like the regulations, they like the fines, because small businesses can't handle those.
That's true.
And so what do they care? So that's corporatism. Capitalism just is true. A true capitalism is the free market. You let the markets work things out.
Right.
And in capitalism, people have to take responsibility for their behavior. So with the bank crisis in 2008 and the housing crisis, I think Sowell was right. What do? Nothing. You don't bail them out. You don't say they're too big to fail. You let them fail. The one thing you should do is take those people to jail who robbed grandma and grandpa of their pensions.
Yeah.
What you don't do is give them billions and billions of dollars.
Yeah, that's right.
But people look at the consequences more than the principle. And because certain companies paid it back and some people got along okay and not a whole lot of harm, at least for the barge that is the country is concerned. The Big Short, that movie was right. It's just no one really did anything. And they're actually re-implementing these crazy ideas all over again. So who knows what the future holds in store for us. But that, to me, is not capitalism. That's corporatism.
The basic philosophies behind capitalism and free market that you and I learned in school are basically lost right now. Nobody's learning them. Nobody's even defending them, which is really tragic. People don't understand why this is the best system given human nature and the fall of humanity. This is the one system that works, that has a lot of flaws, but it works. Like you say, there's more overweight people in the world than underweight for the first time in human history.
Yeah.
And capitalism has a lot to take credit for as part of that.
Sure.
Yeah. We're out of time, Travis.
It is unfortunate.
Well, I wish you were here with me in Los Angeles. Then Los Angeles would be perfect. How's that?
If I showed up?
Yeah, because you're my friend and I miss you. And I wish
things
you were
must be
here.
very bad for Los Angeles for me to be an improvement.
Okay. See ya.
See ya.